Three.
Hello, friends, lovers of freedom. Today I'm here to bring to you the presentation of the two-party system and why it should be gone. I have seen enough of red and blue, democracy or communism. You know, I've seen enough brother versus brother to see that history in a multi-party system has only led to lies, deceit, and mistrust. In this presentation, I will try to give you new possibilities and show you other governments and their systems and how they thrive. And maybe after today, we can see about new possibilities. Next slide. The agenda for today. We'll be starting with the old issues of the Republican Party and their history and failures and lies, and the Democratic Party and their history and lies. Then I'll be going with you and going over governments that are considered great right now in the world: Denmark, New Zealand, and Canada, and give you a brief breakdown of how their system goes and what their people like about it. From there, we will go to the conclusion or my answer to this issue. And in this situation, I'll give you why I believe that the party systems have failed us, show you why you do not want a socialist, dictator, communism, government, either, like I'm not trying to go there, and prove to you that there can be a free republic without a multi-party system. So, we will start with the first party and their lies. Notably with the Nixon administration we'll begin with, the Watergate break-in. Notably, most of the biggest issue with this is that Nixon was working to just get inside information on the Democratic Party by putting wiretaps in their hotel phones and stuff like that. And he also tried to cover it up by infiltrating the CIA and FBI and getting information that they had on the Watergate situation, trying to keep up and wrap up his little faux pas that he was doing. Also, one of the bigger issues, and I kind of combed over through, is that he was instrumentally part of the entire Vietnam War, whether it be from issuing things with Kennedy and his administration early on, going through other things as the Vietnam War was going on, and then himself being put into office in '68, promising to restore law and order and an end to the draft, but then following a year later, coming out with the first lottery draft since World War II. So obviously a huge lie. Then we have our next Republican Party leader, who was somewhat, probably might not remember much, but Herbert Hoover. He was during the Great Depression. He had a lot of policies that did not work during the Great Depression that led to it continuing for the period of time. And then not long after he was deposed and FDR took over, he literally got the country back on track within months. And literally about not even, we're talking about a very small percentage of time that, Hoover couldn't do in 4 years. So just a very huge failure to the general public in that regard. Next slide, please. From there, we will be going into the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has had more issues early on in its lifetime. It has had other issues after on, but they're more faux pas. But I'm talking more the detriment to the soul of the country. We'll start with Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson, if you do not know, is a president that came right after Abraham Lincoln. He had a presidential Reconstruction, which was something that was helping because he had to reconstruct the southern countries. To reconstruct the southern countries, he had this plan that he put in place, but this plan led to a lot of southern countries allowing themselves to make black codes, which put themselves right back into the situation they were at to begin with. And instead of these reconstructions continuing on, he actually got more or less deposed in office politically and allowed the radical Reconstruction, which was mostly led by the Republican Party, which was not any better, which was actually worse. They would push the South into a lot of hate situations, which would lead to the white Southerners forming what is now known today as the Ku Klux Klan. the Ku Klux Klan is obviously a very big form of hate in this country, and it is literally a complete. It comes from exactly this situation from the radical Reconstruction during the Southern times, during this after the Civil War. He also many times tried to thwart the 14th Amendment, which was Abraham Lincoln's biggest part of, the whole Civil War for him anyways, which is a complete undoing of all of Lincoln's work, which is got to be one of the most biggest hits to the country. Then before him, we have Andrew Jackson. A lot of people wouldn't have Andrew Jackson in this because Andrew Jackson is a former hero during the Britain War of 1812. He also did a lot of things for the people in one retrospect, but the people of that time, which was he also allowed a lot of slavery. He allowed the first formation, and he was the leader of the Democratic Party, which really obviously would begin to split and divide because then the Whig Party would move on. This was the Whig Party. Then the opposing party to the Whig Party would form the Republican Party, which would forever split the nation. But he was also around during George Washington's time, and knew the famous quote for him, which was that, this came from George Washington, and it serves always that he was talking about public parties. It always serves to distract the public councils and enfeeble the public administration. It agitates the community with ill-founded jealousies and false alarms, kindness and the adversity of one party against another. Pretty much saying that, it just makes divide and creates huge divide, in general. While it creates this divide, it does things like during his time of presidency in 1935, the Supreme Court ruled that Georgia had no authority over the Native American tribal lands. So, aka the Supreme Court, which does this a lot, went and looked at the Constitution and believed that all people have all their rights, which included the Native Americans who were obviously native to this land and they deserved their lands. But Jackson did not defend or care what the ruling was, and this would lead to the Trail of Tears, which was 1,500 Native Americans being forcibly moved out of those Georgia lands, and most of them would die during that time. So now we're going on to the countries that are around today that have very positive populations, and they very much like their governments, and they somewhat boast their governments. Denmark. Now, Denmark is one of the older governments when it comes to their constitution. They were one of the first to really divide a constitutional monarchy. So they divided the powers more instead of just having them into a king or queen. The king or queen was the head. And they also have a parliament party, which they allow multiple parties, which have had, multiple parties. Which this is probably more in favor of America, to be honest with you, because it says the splitting of party of Denmark has enjoyed a stable government with new elections every 3 years. So they've flipped their government a lot, which is a little bit more than us. They don't really have anything that can stop you from going in for public, anything that you're doing, so you can continuously go into government over and over again, so you don't have to, just be out for 3 years or anything like that. Their entire education is free, though. They are not a socialist. It's not. Maybe you would call it a socialist form, but it is not considered that. It's just this is what they provide for their people. They provide education all the way through, and literally, as it says here, and what I found out is that most, or if not all, adult people in Denmark are literate. They can read, which is huge. Danes enjoy excellent health care. You have choice between two options. The first option's very well nice. It's very simple. There's another one that you can take a little bit out of your money, which is a little bit like the premium plan, but they enjoy two options, so it's not just one option for all. There's options in Denmark, and they do a really nice job there. we go on to New Zealand. Now, New Zealand is technically still part of the British Crown. So they have the parliamentary system, which is obviously based on the British model. The difference with them is that they have an old system, which was one of the first forms of pensions. So they kind of like were the designers of pensions. That's kind of their like new, you know, their kind of like cool healthcare system thing that we've probably somewhat obviously adopted in our most cultures. They have the same system with the free education between the ages of 5 to 19. So you get that, you know, first year out, you know, college free, and then they do have availability for the government also to help you out. But like I said, they are still a part of the British government to a degree. That's their head of state. So they are not alone. They don't just, you know, govern themselves, which is something that I understand. I think that's not what we would ever do or operate with. Canada. Come on, you know you want to be Canada, right? This is the one. This is the one out of the group you're like, this is the government I want. No. So, but they just so recently were somewhat similar to the ones that we have just talked about, besides that they are no longer, because they got rid of the Queen, they are a parliament. It was hard for this one, honestly. They're a parliament, democracy, and constitutional monarchy. So they still have their old government, like I would be considering in our new plan, but they operate out of a democracy now. So they are actually governed by their prime minister. That's their more top. So their top government guy, like our president, is their president / leader. Obviously, Canadians are very proud of their healthcare, as you guys all might know. It is built into their, you know, it's pretty much free. It's built into their whole tax situation, so everyone there pretty much gets healthcare. The education there is, it's kind of actually not that good. I won't lie to you. It's a little bit, it varies just like a state to state. They do not do, they're somewhat similar with us in education, that they do not really have a, you know, very formal educational system where it's all the way around each, you know, everyone's formal. It's very country, you know, sorry, you know, there's tradition, or there's more of, I don't know how they would call it, they're not states, but they're, you know, out, or territories, sorry, more still like, so they all have their different styles to go with. So, but yeah, you know, there's Canada, but they do love the government. So the future party. Now this party, I will not lie to you, is not actually that futuristic, because I stole it from it. It was once, it originated, it's a democratic republic. That is what the Romans were during the time before they became what they are to most people, which is the, you know, murderous, killing, you know, not the kind of guys you would model your government at. Well, before that, they were actually this democratic republic. And this democratic republic is very interesting in a few reasons. Mostly, they obviously, like us, voted for two counselors, not one, two. So you're not going to deal with one president, you have two. And they had to agree on all decisions. Like, it did not matter if one was sick and the other one was out. If the other guy was out sick going no, then it was not happening no matter what. Now, you would think that things happen, but it makes pressure. I think it takes away pressure and it helps you, you know, talk to someone else. The pressure's not on just you. If I make a decision, now it affects his legacy. No, it affects someone else's legacy. So he's going to bounce things, or she will bounce things off you, you know. In our world, it can be he or she. I don't care. They both had to agree. Now, this is the big thing. This is the biggest thing. They got to serve for 1 year. Then they could not serve for another 10 years. So this is not something where you could make this a career. This is not going to be, I can be the leader and the counselor forever. No, you got to be the counselor for 1 year, and then you might be able to come down into these other jobs. But you are coming back here for 10 years. And if you were that good in 10 years, then maybe if you were that good, you might get another shot because you were that good. You deserve another shot every 10 years. I think that's respectable. And then it gets broken down similar to our government. So this part really you don't have to have, because you could, you know, replace it with our other branches that we have with the Senate, and you could kind of form it up. But the difference between this is that even in this time where you would expect there to be somewhat parties, there weren't. There were somewhat what they call factions, but these factions never were big enough or respected enough that they were considered parties, and they weren't formatted in that subject. They were all very much considered to be for the people and to the people and what they were doing, you know. And it wasn't until later on when the Senate would become what they were with Julius Caesar, where they become more personal, because the Senate became to start taking more power after they killed Julius Caesar. So, but yeah, in conclusion, the American government being the politician opportunity to serve the people, that's what this is. I'm kind of getting into more. Is about that our government is mostly about to serve us. It's not about to, you know, serve them. They need to serve us, which means they need to stop thinking that their career can be 12, 15 years, 60, 80, whatever it may be. Some of these people stay in office, and it needs to be something that they know they're only going to be there so long, and they need to make a good mark while they're there and move on and continue to help society in other ways, and not leech off the taxpayers' money, the taxpayers' time, when only certain things happen through government with these two-party systems. So I hope you like my demonstration and my ideas. Thank you. Bye.